Hello all, welcome to PSIR Analytica. I am Nikhil, Gowda, the Insights PSIR faculty. The first question I am taking about is paper 2 part A question. The question speaks about examine the idea of security through gender lens. Okay, so first and foremost, let us try to do a lot of brainstorming and try to think what can be written as the answer. So two things, one will be the content, the other will be the structure part. And the key question is that they are asking you to examine the statement. So now what you can write as an introduction says that you can say according to J and Tickner, you can say that security has been central to the discipline of IR since its inception in 20th century. So this can be your ideal introduction. Then you go into say that largely the idea of security was shaped by the oldest school of thought, that is realism or classical realism, and the neo-realism. And here the idea of security was seen through very narrow way, such as security in terms of this, what you can say, that men played a key role, and security was largely seen in the traditional sense of territorial security, and these security can be brought, or security of a state can be brought through arms race, balance of power, and they also mooted the idea of the importance of men in war to bring protection. But then you can say that however, the feminist idea has reshaped the idea of security. There you can write about Cynthia Enloe. In her interview on Theory Talks, said the idea of security providers cannot be limited only to soldiers. It should also include health professionals, educators, climate change experts, because all these issues are also related to security in that regard. And you can say the feminist approach has shifted the idea of security from territorial security to, they brought it into more closer to human security. Then you can want to write, they have debunked many ideas of security which has been propagated and promoted by the realist approach, and realist approach mainly promotes the masculine perspective of security rather than the feminine perspective of security, something like that you can write. So then you can add the viewpoint of Catherine Moon, who in her book The Sex Among Allies, the military prostitution in US-Korea relations, has largely spoken about how the Korean government supplied prostitutes for the American soldiers to ensure that to encourage the American military bases in South Korea. This actually didn't take care into account the health of the sex workers, who were largely women whose security was impacted in that regard. Then you can also write about Christine Chin in her book In Service and Servitude. In Service and Servitude largely speaks about how the Malaysian government, they used Filipino women and Indonesian working women to support the middle class economy of the Malaysia. And you can say here the women were used as the means to exploit. So this is also an aspect of the security angle. Then you can also say that there is also arguments in international sphere which has been built that personal is international. International is personal. International is personal. Because you can say a lot of personal issues of women are related to important security related issues. So largely J. and Tickner, she speaks about we need to use a gender lens when analyzing the idea of security, and she says that the ideas of economic security, gendered division of labor, and you can say climate change has greater impact on women and children compared to men. But however, traditionally these were not seen as security threats, and that's why we say these are all non-traditional security threats, which the feminist school has highlighted. Then you can also say that feminists have also debunked the myth of protection. Because they say when men fight war, because war makes them men, this actually has resulted in casualties of the vulnerable section such as women and children. And many times war has endangered the women lives. You can give the example of Serbia and Kosovo, where many Kosovian women were raped in that regard. So what you can say, militarized rapes. So in this regard, you can say largely the feminist approach has broadened the idea of security, has made the idea of security more broader, more inclusive, and it has also shifted the focus from the territorial security to the idea of human security at large. So this can be, what you can say, the direction or the structure of your answer. So friends, these are the points you can include in your answer to make a good content and a good well-structured answer at large. So with this, let's move on to the next question. The next question is about examine whether India and US are going to be natural allies. So the structure of the question is that this question, you need to understand, has been asked largely in the background of growing Indo-American ties, and largely you can write a lot of content for it, but more importantly I'll speak about what should be your structure. So you can say that you can start your answer by saying that Prime Minister Modi recently said that Indo-US relationship have crossed the hesitations of history, and largely today both countries are on the convergence path. And you can also add Denix Cox's argument that once who were estranged democracies today both have become engaged democracies. Then you can write that what are the areas of convergence that has brought India and America closer. So you can write about strategically the rise of China, and you can also speak about complex interdependence or the economic interdependence. Give examples for this. I am not going to the examples. You need to give examples for it. And you can also largely speak about the common threat of terrorism. Again, give an example of any agreement which has been signed. And you can also speak about both countries have a similar thought process with respect to the protecting the liberal world order. You can also speak about the defense collaboration. And you can say recently America has given a lot of exemptions to India. You can speak without STA1, the major defense partner status, the LEMOA, which was redesigned to suit India's interest in that regard. And you can also say the politically relationship has been elevated. G2+2 talks in that regard. You can also link about any military exercises between the two sides. And then you can speak about both India and US are part of many minilaterals today, that is Quad, I2, U2. So largely you speak out first of the answer, what is making India and America forming this strategic partnership. But then you can say, however, the term natural allies cannot completely fit into India-US relationship, largely because there is a divergence with their makeup as well also their worldview. So one, you can write about the divergence points such as, one, America represents the global north and India represents global south. So you can say America aspires for a unipolar world order and a multipolar Asia, whereas India aspires for a multipolar Asia and a multipolar world order. Then you can also say both countries' view of Indo-Pacific construct. So if you look from a social constructivist point of view, each country has its own construct. America largely sees Indo-Pacific in terms of China containment policy, but India's view of Indo-Pacific is more broader. So you can say America says that it is free, open Indo-Pacific, whereas India says that free, open, inclusive Indo-Pacific. And you can see both countries also diverge on many economic issues. So you can write about agricultural subsidies in WTO, CBDR principle, and largely you can also say there is a difference with respect to GSP, generalized system of preferences. Give you examples. And you can say both countries are also are not on a common platform when it comes to Russia-Ukraine crisis. India has largely maintained silent diplomacy. India abstained itself from voting against Russia and Ukraine, whereas the Americans have been trying to build a narrative that Russia is the aggressor. So try to give other few examples like the divergence on the Afghan issue at large initially. So you can say that there is no denying fact that the relation between two countries have largely improved. It was largely economic relations in 1990s. It has went into strategic partnership in 2000s, and now we have entered technological and emerging technological cooperation at large. But still there are differences that exist between two countries, and India cannot be seen as a junior partner of America. And you can write something in your conclusion part saying that the future of Indo-US relations depends on to what extent the Americans can accommodate India's national interest in their larger geopolitical strategy. Friends, this is what you can use as your conclusion part. So I'm not speaking about all the points that can be included, but I'm largely speaking about the content or the structure of the answer. So I hope this helped you. I'll come out with few more questions discussions in the coming few days, and I hope this is helping you guys. Let's meet again in the next session. Thank you. Till then, take care.